everybody can just hear my dog slurping away. It's okay. She's a good pup. She's a good pooch. Slurp, slurp, slurp. Blombo. Who's Blombo? Or did I miss that in the chat? Oh, forest. Hi there, everybody. How's everybody else doing? Hi. That's what I wanted. So I'm going through and adding some new lands from foundations into my decks. Do I only... No, I have to have more than that. Just one. I guess I only got two. Well, that's a bunch of bullcrap. Good to see y'all too. Dog, no. Yeah, no, we're gonna talk about that, and I'm just waiting for more people to trickle in. Y'all know how it is. But Elon has been trying to get the Department of Doge opened for a while now, so it shouldn't be too surprising. No chaotic insanity, we just started the stream. I'm going through and swapping out some of my Bloomborough lands for some of the new Foundation Kamigawa lands for my blue-black rat deck while I wait for more people to trickle in. I really do love that. The lands in Foundations, the full arts, are fucking crazy nice looking. Crazy pretty. The hair is awesome. It's the same hair as every time. But thank you. I appreciate it. What does that mean? Hello, Napoleon. I am just swapping out one look of a card for different looking cards. There's a rat deck now. Well, I make a rat deck. I play Commander, and so I make my own Commander decks, and rats have crazy good synergy. And my rat deck, especially after Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, my rat deck is kind of fucking filthy. I've only played it once, but it was disgustingly savage in a way that makes me kind of hesitate to play it again. Oh, thank you, Allison R. Oh, God, Sneak. Don't even... See, here's the problem. Dana White, like, called out Sneeko and Aiden in the Trump, like, acceptance speech. So, like, that is such closer proximity than I would ever want for those two fucking idiots to any level of power. It's low-key giving Gabriel from Constantine. Oh, stop it. Oh my gosh. Don't make me blush. My puppy's intrigued by your dog and my phone. Yeah, no, the Doge department thing is unfortunately real. Unfortunately. Yeah, Pete Hegseth, we're going to be talking about all the nominations. Kristi Noem, star of God's Not Dead 5, Mike Huckabee, is going to be in the next Trump administration. Just so cool. Nope. The Doge thing is, I mean, like, the Doge thing was a bit for Elon, but, like, I'm willing to bet that, like, for all of his support, Trump is basically gifting him this thing. I would love, I'll talk about it in a minute, but yeah, like, it has been the thing that Elon has been campaigning alongside Trump on. It's just fucking stupid nonsense. Dog, you are fine. You are fine. You are. All right, let me go see if I can give her a treat or something to calm the pup down. I'll be right back. Yeah, you're being a booger. You're being a little booger dog. No. Hey, ow. Stop it. Here, look what I got. There you go. Knocketh thyself out, little dog. Is Elon an immigrant? Yeah. He immigrated here from South Africa, famously. I have one more little thing to do with my all-white Phyrexian deck. And then I will dig right in. Oh, how you look great tonight. Thank you, the Blob 36. If you can believe it, I just threw this like makeup and look on in about 10 minutes because I wasn't actually going to. Holy shit, we already have 300 people in here. I wasn't gonna like do a big dress up doodly doo thing. But then I saw the Doge news and I was like, you know what, I need to be looking a little bit better to tackle this. Nikron, trying to figure out how to be a good cis male ally in the new hellscape. The fact that you are already willing to try and be one and look into how to be one and ask how to be one and do the work is the biggest step. Because more than anything, allies need to be ready and willing to just like I know it is a little bit of a meme in left liberal spaces, but like sit and listen. That's not to say that you can't speak up. I think there's the common misconception that in sitting and listening in spaces that like, hey cat, can you not? I love you. I just don't like your pokey paws right now. I need to trim your little paws. I need to trim your little paws. Misses right here on my lap already. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yeah, that is a great question. It is because the people running everything are fucking stupid. Somebody asked, how do people seriously think Elon will make the government more efficient despite how he's handled his own companies and Twitter? Because they don't seem to actually define efficiency like most people would define efficiency. Goosebumps Fandy 77. Today in history, we talked about the history of immigration and related it to today, how there is an increase in nativism, which is when you prefer native-born citizens over immigrants. While my history teacher couldn't say his name because no politics, we talked about how a certain man to be president is stupid on this topic. That's very interesting. It's Goosebumps fan because I know you're a high schooler, or I think you're a hype schooler, or a very, very smart middle schooler. Did you talk at all about, or did your history teacher bring up at all how, especially in the United States, and it's not uncommon to see in other parts of the world, there are cycles of nativist sentiment, like around Ellis Island and New York, around the 1700s, well, around the 1800s, how you saw a lot of nativist sentiment from national-born Americans. towards other white people who were predominantly Irish immigrants, like the Irish immigrants who fled from the Great Potato Famine, looking for any life and were willing to do any work they can to sustain themselves. Because that is, if your history teacher is cool and smart and knowledgeable, that is a very good, I think, corollary to educate on and show the youths how those things are by no means new or exclusive. Well, Beniver HD, I still do see the YouTube comments. They just don't show up on stream. Goosebumps fan, yes, we talked about how it keeps happening. Happened with the Chinese, the Irish, and more. My history teacher is Irish as well as me. Yeah, awesome. Good to know. Sounds like you have a pretty good history teacher then. Mighty Mulatto, doesn't Doge have to be legislated into existence? Like, no. Because of the way Trump is already gearing up to use executive orders and the way that everybody around him is not doing anything to stop him. Hello, kitten. Hope you had a good day. I had an okay day, mea culpa. Your top Loki reminds me of Jack Skellington. Well, now you make me feel all hot topic and shit. Who else we got in here? Everybody still doing okay? Everybody having a good time? Hope you had a good day. It does give Jack. Giving Jack Skellington is a fucking crazy sentence to me. One of the things keeping me positive is the release of Stalker 2 next week. God damn, is that already coming up? Holy shit. That's crazy. How fucked is the country if they get rid of the Department of Education? Well, I'm not going to sugarcoat. So you don't look at things as much as Trump and everybody else want to say, like, oh, day one we're doing this. That is legal and still propaganda speak for they might try and set plans in motion. The problem is, like, that there are realities behind just trying to dissolve a fucking entire branch. Cat, are you serious? You just bonking your little head on my thing? What are you doing? Bye-bye. There you go. Yeah, she just wants pets. That's all she wants. That's all she ever... Oh, yeah, look at that. Look at the neck scritches. Look at the neck scritches. D-Money Dom, hanging in there. Endometriosis, PCOS, and Hashimoto's are awful today, and I worry about reproductive health care under another Trump regime. Yeah, like, I'm not saying you shouldn't be. Nobody should be worried, because we absolutely should be. But it is not something that is going to happen overnight, and it is not something that is, especially these wide-branching things like the fucking Department of Education. Are you trying to chew on my earrings, Cat? Are you... You believe this little animal right now? Excuse you. Excuse you. Mighty Mulatto, thank you for $5. He's going to run into the same issue Nixon did. If Congress appropriates, he must spend. Glad they didn't get rid of the filibuster. Yeah. Josie Wosie, thank you for $5. I'm a trans femme teacher in South Carolina. The recent election, along with PIBA not covering HRT, is giving me more reason to move to a blue state. Abso-fucking-lutely. Any queer educator, it's so hard to, because so many teachers, like the idea that teachers are being targeted for all of this shit. You're being such a little booger today. You're being such a little booger. Hjorn the Lost Wizard, it is most certainly, I mean, like, it is a joke, but it is also something that is happening in reality. So yes and no. Ah. I love that your cat is as aggressively loving and cuddly as mine. She is very, very aggressively snuggly. She is a little butthead. No sense of personal space, do you? Hey, look at me in the eye. Oh, Goosebumps fan. I don't know if my choir teacher is queer or not, but they have a pride flag in the classroom and pride stickers. I would imagine, like, even if they're not, I would imagine that there are so many teachers right now who are just putting those things in their classrooms out of solidarity, out of any kind of, like, a willingness to just have them and make sure that their students feel safe and secure. I wish my boys were cuddly. They're so aloof despite me bottle raising them. Aww. Oh yeah, no, Goosebumps fan. My teachers get paid so little for the shit they gotta put up with. Every teacher does. Like, the idea that nobody ran on, like, hey, look at, because it, you know, it is better for riling up bases for conservatives and Republicans to be like, oh, teachers are trying to trans all your kids and making teachers into these enemies when, like, it's whatever. They don't want good education. Like, that is the bottom line of Republican policy for the last 40 years. They do not want good education. They want to continue privatizing education. They want to continue to make more and more money and charge kids, doesn't matter if they're poor or not, doesn't matter if they can afford it, for education. Yeah, and that way they can continue pumping out a barely literate populace that will continue to vote for them. In the wealthiest country in the world. Well, I think we still are. Miss, stop it. Stop chewing on my earrings. Goosebumps fan, I want to become a teacher, but now I'm reconsidering. I'd love to teach, but I don't think I could with how the pay is right now. It's rough, especially, like, I cannot imagine how hard it would be to be a teacher and also, like, try and raise a family. Like, man, rough business. Research lab might end soon because he might get deported, even though he's less than a year away from being eligible for citizenship. Does he have a green card? Is he have a work visa? Is he here for working, or here, quote unquote, illegally? Oh yeah, quite considering. You're not teaching anything about the labor movement or associated shenanigans the oligarchs of early industrialization got up to. Yeah, no, we when you look into all of the things, and I've talked before about Malcolm X and Black revolutionary movements and Black separatist movements, and, like, when you look into everything you weren't taught in school, and you start to connect the dots on, like, what do all these things have in common? What do John Brown and the workers' rights movements and the radical civil rights activists, what do they all have in common? And it's usually use of force and resistance. Okay, kitten. I know. When I let her down, she just went, Oof. Oh, goodness. Liz Cole, he has a green card. I wouldn't necessarily, like, not to say that that's entirely off the board, because like the racism of the system knows no bounds. Oh yeah, Chad Benke. It always made me so mad in high school we never studied past the end of World War II. The end of World War II, everybody I went to school with, you had maybe, if you got to World War II, you had maybe a week or two, like 20 pages of modern history. And it pissed me off so much because there was so much shit that I watched a lot of movies growing up because my mom really gave me a good cultural education. And when I say that, I do mean that, like, she had me watch a lot of very culturally relevant movies in the same framework as, like, a lot of, and I've passed this on to a lot of my partners, where it's like, oh my gosh, you haven't seen this, except she was my mom, so she knew I hadn't seen it. So it'd be like, hey, sit down, we're gonna watch, you know, this historically significant film or whatever. And I loved a lot of, because I watched them with my mom, a lot of musicals and a lot of older films. My mom loves old, like, she's not that old, but like golden era of Hollywood, musicals and Technicolor films and stuff like that. And so growing up, there were so many things, especially around World War II, because I would see a lot of movies that were around or about World War II. Excuse me. Especially around Vietnam, because I would see a lot of movies that were around or about Vietnam. Not so much Korea, because we barely studied Korea, much like the Gulf War. And about the Cold War, that I never really, like, got any kind of education for in school. So it was always, like, very deeply personally disappointing to me. And I can only imagine that it's still that way. Andromeda 31, I was in AP history classes the entire way. Yep, same. Although, in fairness, the subject matter was different because I took AP World History, AP European History, and AP US History my final year. But yeah. I briefly was in an honors class and was astonished with how watered down it was. I thought AP was watered down, but that was LaCroix. Yeah, it is... Advanced placement is what is the standard to which most education should strive. Like, when you get a kind of retrospective look, it quickly becomes apparent that, like, oh no, advanced placement at its best level is what everybody should be doing. And it's not. And that's a problem. Zachary Butler, thank you for $5. Watching your stuff has really helped me with the aw crap, we're doomed feelings. Also, holy hell, are you androgynous gender goals? Thank you. I appreciate it. Alrighty, let me put my Phyrexian deck away. We have to get locked in for tonight, because, Man, chat. Like... The Locust God 297. I basically had to do all my political education myself, and it led me down a dumbass libertarian path. Many such cases. Many such cases. There's one eyeshadow shade that I think makes me get, like, a slight allergic reaction because I start getting really sniffly when I use it. And so if I'm sniffling a lot, I apologize. I don't know what it is. Sometimes totally fine. Other times, not so much. And it's always a problem because I use like 5 different shades to get gradient looks. Education makes me so angry. Yeah, I always say, like, I don't know why more people don't run on education, but the very, like, it's a question that kind of answers itself. It's because it's not a popular issue. It is so deeply unpopular, which speaks to, oh God, speaks to such a dark heart of the American experience that fucking education, getting teachers and children and students proper funding to learn is not a priority. And you like, it's not viable to run on it, at least not in the ways that we've seen Democrats and progressives and even Republicans try to. It's an addendum. It's an also ran. Suffering for success. Love to see it. Hinojos. Greg Hinojos. People prefer mythology over history. Unfortunately true. Also, IHDC, thank you for 9 months. I'm a newborn baby. God. I saw a billboard basically saying, banned teachers unions, remove the Department of Education, return to Yahweh. Did they actually say return to God? Because that's not surprising at all, honestly. The education in Oklahoma is so fucked. Oh, yeah, because you have Ryan Walters. Sorry. We're already like 49th in the nation. Our state superintendent has tried to buy Trump Bibles for all of school. Fuck Ryan Walters. Yeah, like, and the thing that really annoys me about how conservatives have tokenized education is that do you really think that's going to fucking make the difference in high school? Like, honestly, do you think just having Bibles, like the modern high school student is going to be like, oh, what's this Bible shit about? Like, maybe a couple, but it's a purely like political gesture. It is purely tokenizing these kids as props in their fucking culture war. And it's like, it's disgusting. It's so disgusting. Like, it's the old adage of, you know, like, Republicans care about a baby until it's actually born. And then they care about it when it turns 18 and can go into the military. But in between then, it's just a statistic. And then as soon as it's done with military service, it's just another statistic. Like, fucking disgusting. Middle school health class at my school really sucked. We spent 3 days on how intersex people couldn't possibly exist and how gay people are unnatural. What? Where did you go to school? Westboro Baptist High? I guess middle school. Yeah, teenagers hate when something is forced upon them. Yeah, like, fucking nothing's gonna get teenagers to get interested in something like forcing it on them. Like, yo, do you know how much kids already fucking hate being assigned like reading homework? I'm assuming that still happens. People who are still in high school, you still read like a book a year, right? Or 2 books. Like, Common Core has you reading like Great Gatsby or some shit, right? I'm an adult with ADHD and I hate when things are forced on me. Yeah, me too. I still remember, because, you know, there were some books. I've always been a big reader, I've gotten back into it in recent years, because there was a long period of my adult life where I was just too busy to read, and everything I read was for when I was going to college, and then anything outside of that I was just like, nah. Radiotarian, I never read a single book that was assigned to me, just caught up in guests during our classes, Socratic seminars. Smart. I was only ever able to read stuff I myself chose. Yeah, that was the thing for me, is that, like, even when I was assigned something to read, rarely did I actually read it. There were a couple times. There was a time where I was direly in need of some extra credit in my AP World History class, and I had a great AP World History teacher. And for extra credit, she basically had us do book reports, which is, I think, a really smart way to do extra credit, because you were allowed to, if I'm remembering correctly, it's been over a decade, but if I'm remembering correctly, you were allowed to do them at your own pace, and you were able to do them before the ending of every half of the year, because you had until like Christmas and then until summer. And so like you could kind of either stock them up and cash them in later, like if you didn't do good on a test, or if you were actually going to put in the work and do the book report, you could fucking like read 3, 4, 5, 6 books towards the end of the year and like bump your grade up by, demonstrating that you'd actually learned something, which I always thought was a really interesting way to do it. And I ended up reading 2 books, one of which do not remember. It was French. Don't remember it at all. The other one was, I remember which one it was because there was a lot of Judge D books, but it was one of the original, or a translation of one of the original Judge D books, which for those who don't know are very, very, very old Chinese detective mysteries, that are even in their kind of clunky translated phases, still bangers. Judge D, bangers. But there were no shortage. That was one that I that kind of thing appealed to me. I like mysteries. I like detective novels, and through this like entirely different cultural lens was a really fascinating way to explore that genre. But so many other fucking things, like anytime, oh my god, this is bringing back a whole lot of like high school trauma. Anytime I was forced to read for like a class or something, a book that was, because they have so many, they have all these fucking books. And again, sorry, if you're still in high school and you have to go through this, I'm so sorry for you. But do you ever have those books that are like that fucking thick, but they got that big ass, like some kind of seal or award, like, oh, this is the prestigious Teacher's Achievement Award or whatever the fuck, because it got awarded that and you've never heard of it. And it's just like kind of not that good of a book. It's very menial. Like 2 books I still think of that I'm like, I see them every now and again in like a Barnes & Noble or something. I'm like, well, fuck that book. Stoughton is the name of the book. I think it was about like a swim team, a high school swim team. Fucking boring as shit. Oh my god. And Things Fall Apart by, I don't remember it was an African author, but another one did not like. Found them both to be terminably boring. Terminably. But then like, the things that I actually really enjoyed reading were more like the classic. Well, not all classics. I fucking hated Catcher in the Rye. I was mad at Catcher in the Rye. Dog. I still Catcher in the Rye and Great Gatsby, still fucking hate those books. I've tried to go back and read them like, maybe I was stupid and young, and I read like halfway through them. I'm like, nope, still bullshit. Like, no, I get it. I get the thing they're doing. Still bad. Don't like it. Chinua Achebe. Yep. Oh my god, that name just came back to me. Oh my god. Wow. But I loved To Kill a Mockingbird. Like when I read To Kill a Mockingbird, fucking loved it. Like enamored with that novel. Yeah, and I read a shit ton all through middle school and high school. Like I was a voracious reader, especially in middle school. There was a time, and sorry, this is last background lore, Jordan's lore hour, and then we'll get into the rest of everything. There was a time where I had gotten kicked out of art class in middle school. It was had to have been 8th grade. And I was basically just sat in the principal's office for an entire week because I don't remember what it was. It was me and 3 other boys who were behind the teacher, and apparently I never saw anything. And like, I have no reason to lie about this. Almost 20 years later. No, not almost 15 years later. It was me and 3 other boys, and apparently the teacher felt somebody throw something at her, and we were the only 4 people behind her, so we all got split up and all taken out for like a week. And I still to this day do not know if any of them actually did anything. But it allowed me to basically, it was reading time for me. And at the time I was reading through the Star Wars Legacy of the Force books, which were the New York Times bestsellers. I think it was Legacy of the Force is the one if my expanded universe heads will know if this is, because this is the one where fucking Boba Fett trains Jaina to go hunt down Jason. And those are not small books. Those are thick volumes. Those are like proper fucking New York Times bestsellers. And I would go through those in like a day. Like when I had an hour or two to myself, just one end to the other. Yeah, Charlie Blueberg, thank you for $4.99. The Cold War isn't talked about much since the CIA became the world's greatest terrorist force in so many places. Yeah, they don't really want to ever teach kids about School of the Americas. Ever. Yeah, I should. One like big pie in the sky idea I'd love to pursue one day is a free educational series for middle schoolers and high schoolers. Whoa, Buffett. Oliver Draws 27. Hey, I have an idea. I want to make sure you're okay with people drawing you. I want to draw you in arcane art style because I think you'd look really cool. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I love fan art, y'all. I've talked about like I am so flattered anybody ever wants to make fan art, and I love it all and I keep it all. I have every piece of fan art anybody's ever saved me in a file, a folder on my phone. I have it backed up on my laptop. I love it all. And I'll probably share it on my Twitter too. Mighty Mulatto, thank you for $2. I hear Gravity's Rainbow is a good read. I have not heard of it. I need to finish up. I'm getting so close to the end of the second Vampire Chronicles book, Lestat, which is quite good. It's not as good as Interview with the Vampire, which is kind of a bummer. Because I went into Lestat like, let's fucking go. Let's go. And it's good. It's aight. It's aight. You know, it is no... I feel like there's just something so iconic about that first... about Interview. Like, it is so... And I still love her writing. Anne Rice's writing is untouchably beautiful. Like, it really is. Like it has such a modern voice and understandability, but like you feel the depth and the intricacy is a better word, of writers like Mary Shelley and Pierce Shelley, and like Ambrose Bierce and Robert Chambers, and like just these kind of older horror and gothic fiction writers. Yeah, goddamn. If y'all want some good shit, the good, it's hard to beat Vampire Chronicles. Hard to beat it, especially Interview with the Vampire. I like Mark Twain's books. I'm currently reading one of his books. Mark Twain is really good. Mark Twain is very... When I was younger, I had a little bit of a hard time reading Mark Twain when I was like real young. And same with H.G. Wells. And I think that probably being a young teenager, because I when I first tried to read them, I basically skipped the chapter book phase of like reading engagement because they just didn't engage me at all. And so I was like reading books, but there was still like there is such a lack of distinction for a lot of those books where it became hard to... There is a difference in the depth and the style of writing between like older fiction and newer fiction. So like when I was like 10, 11, 12, I could read like a Stephen King book, understand it, enjoy it. But if I tried to go back to something just slightly more archaic, like in H.G. Wells, it did not like jive with me, just a little bit. But I think like if you really get into H.G. Wells around high school, so much better. His stuff goes down The reason I bring him up is because, like Mark Twain, H.G. Wells is probably best understood as like pulp, as like as mainstream fiction or whatever, but it goes down so smoothly now. And like The Invisible Man, like reading that again, fuck, like so goddamn good, so goddamn good. They really are like page turners, page turners. Yeah. And they're not like, you know, the Invisible Man has themes and shit you can dissect, but it is not like a deeply philosophical journey or everything, which I think makes it, you know, a little bit better as like an entry level into older literature. It's not like Moby Dick or anything. Which, like, hey, if anybody in my chat says Moby Dick is bad, you haven't read enough of it. Invisible Man movie, but being a Scientologist is gonna break my sense of disbelief. Yeah. Anybody who says Moby Dick is bad hasn't heard Leviathan by Mastodon. That's like saying anybody who says Moby Dick is bad hasn't played Metal Gear Solid 5. But I love that anyway. Yeah, no, Moby Dick is, man, maybe that was one I finally and I think you probably have to be like, the other thing is that there are certain books that I feel you really need a little bit more perspective to really enjoy fully. There's truth to the idea that, like, you know, the people who wrote them were adults. And they lived in different times, obviously, had drastically different lives to any of us. But there are common experiences, even just things like nostalgia, even just things like grief, that most people in high school have not really gotten into yet. Most people in early college haven't really gotten into yet. And I think there are aspects of those that really paint things like Moby Dick, things like Frankenstein, certainly, in a slightly different light. When you've gone through a bit more of your life and you've had struggles with things like faith and your questioning of your place in the world and the vastness of existence and all of these other things, like, it really, I think, it gives so much of the haunting depth that a lot of those giant literary classics are known for. Alan Showerman, thank you for $2. Speaking of fish, what's the best fish? What's the best fish? I'd say Gamera, but Gamera is a turtle. That's a lot of fish. That's a great. That's a good question, Mega Man. Best fish. I'm trying to think of a good fictional fish. The red one, I think, trout. I fuck with trout. I fuck with salmon. I fuck with salmon a lot. No, my personal, like, if you're talking about like food fish, hamachi, yellowtail. I love me some yellowtail. My favorite sushi place around here has some delicious yellowtail sashimi that I love it. I love it so fucking much. Mega Man Legends. Have you read The King in Yellow? Yes, I have. I like The King in Yellow quite a bit. Favorite prehistoric creature? Dilophosaurus. Diplodocus. What kind of skull? This is a little replica raven skull. It's not a real one. Mackerel. Benny VRHD. I was like, I have no idea what this means. Even if the subtext was clear to me, I'm 15. Yeah. Yeah. Goosebumps fan 77. I love reading every day during lunch. I go to the library and work on school, listen to music, or read. Sucks seeing so many of my classmates groan at the sight of reading and haven't picked up a book on their own in literal years. Yeah, I mean, there's always gonna be people who, like, you don't need to necessarily read to be smart, but all the smartest people I know like to read. Like, it is such a wonderful tool, and I'm glad that so many kids, like, I don't think kids are ever going to stop reading, because there's always going to be people who love knowledge and love creativity and love, even if it is nerdy shit, like love manga and anime and all this other stuff, like that is going to lead them to, whether they realize it or not, these avenues of learning. Like, if kids get way into fucking D&D, they're going to be reading those lore books. If kids get way fucking into Warhammer, like, dog, those books are dense as shit. So, like, it's a large reason why and I think even my mom realized this when I was growing up, is that, like, video games were an avenue for learning and expression for me. How do I feel about House of Leaves? Overrated. I think it is neat. Again, it's kind of like the same thing, although I don't hate it like I do. Well, hate is a strong word. I don't dislike it like I do Great Gatsby and Catcher in the Rye. But House of Leaves is like I get the thing they're doing. I just don't think it's not, like, mind-blowing, I guess. God, what was the fucking James Joyce book I read that was just like, Finnegan's Wake? Fuck. God. Well written, I think. Maybe. I'm not an Irish person from 200 years ago, so I can't really judge it, I guess, on the merits that it deserves to be judged. But it's like, reading it as like a, in terms of it being a classic without like a fucking guide is like, come on, man, what are we doing here? Anyway. All right, now that has been Jordan's fun book club hour, the book club power hour. Let's go. And we have to actually talk about some things that matter. But first, I will be right back. I got to blow my nose. And we will get going. Opinion on Narnia? Haven't read it since I was a kid. Haven't read any of them since I was a kid. But I remember really liking them. I think I read up to The Silver Chair. Because I was a kid in the height of, like, Harry Potter coming out. So then every fucking, like, vaguely fantasy, vaguely kid-friendly series was getting adaptations. And so when I think I saw the first Narnia movie, I remember it was kind of a big deal. I did not see the other two. There were two, right? I think Prince Caspian and Voyage of the Dawn Treader. I think so. But no, I remember liking it. I remember having weird, like, as a kid, I remember having, like, a crush on the Snow Queen, which was very odd for me. This is the Notheist. Thank you for resubscribing for Tier 1 for 5 months. Hey, DD, I wanted to join you to talk about how the dog killer is somehow the Homeland Security chief, lol. I didn't even know about that one yet. I didn't even know about that. I'm positive that only 80% read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Yeah, I had in my opinion on Percy Jackson came out right. I hear they are great. I hear they are amazing. Came out right after I would have been interested in them. Like right fucking after. As in, I remember browsing, being in like middle school and seeing them when they first came out, and I was just like, whatever, fantasy shit. But I hear they're amazing. I have nothing against them, but no real interest in them. Kind of like Aragorn. It's like, I know that they're good. I've heard they're very good. I have a hard time. I don't want to say engaging because it's not true. I watch animated shows and stuff, but like I have a hard time going back. I read so rarely, and when I want to read impactful shit. Right? I want to go back to the source to see what impacted modern writers. Aragon, that's what it is. Yes, thank you. Somebody asked about Artemis Fowl. I fucking loved. Those first two Artemis Fowl books, that first one especially, my shit. As a slightly neurodivergent kid, it might surprise you to know that any book that had a like secret hidden language and like a thing underneath every page that you had to decode fucking had me locked in. I was all about Artemis Fowl as a kid. Piranesi by Susanna Clark. I have not. And I read Ian Colfer had another book. It had to do with angels and demons. The author of Artemis Fowl. I'm sure somebody knows what it is. You say you want to see what's inspired writing, but you haven't read the original Conan stories, the second most influential work to fantasy behind Lord of the Rings. Patrick Clover, I did start reading Conan. I bought the Sword of the Phoenix Sword. I was actually really not disappointed with the printing. I was very disappointed with it came in a little. It's fine. It was just like this thin little pamphlet, basically, very annoying. And I want to continue reading more Conan. I have a number of audiobooks lined up for when I'm done with some other books. But I love it. Like Conan is that like, well, outside of the weird racism, which is one of those things that you just kind of got to take in stride. Like listening to a Conan audiobook or reading a Conan book on the train and shaking my head so everybody knows I don't approve of fantasy racism. But no, it's Demon Lady That Was Sick as Hell. I think that's the one. Demonic. But outside of that, it's like reading a fucking Dio album as a book. Like it's just the like you cannot get more fucking swords and sorcery, like 80s fucking ripped dudes on a Hollywood backlot swinging swords at each other, and we're gonna add a stop motion like fucking Naga in post. Good shit. Tower of the Elephant is up there too. Tower of the Elephant is one of the ones that I have on my short list. Anyway. SpongeBob musical Spring the Music slaps. I wish you all the luck in the world, Goosebumps fan. So, a lot of people talking about Elon Musk and Trump and the recent election have noted that we may be living in the worst timeline. And I can confirm we're living in the worst timeline because not only do we now have Magic the Gathering player in the White House with JD Vance, but we now have something worse with Elon Musk, a Redditor. 2. Very funny. Oh, this is Donald J. Trump post from his Truth Social. Great. What is this? A fucking for ants? What are we doing here? All right. I can't. There we go. Thank you. Fuck. Why does Musk think Doge is the peak of comedy? Because he's not very funny. I am pleased to announce that the great Elon Musk, by the way, putting great Elon Musk as like a title is horrifying to hear. Working in conjunction with American patriot Vivek Ramaswamy will lead the Department of Government Efficiency, Doge. Now, I would give good money to be in the room when Elon tried to explain to Trump how cool and epic it would be to name something Doge. Because I guarantee you, it was like watching a 7-year-old explain their hyperfixation to their grandparents. Like, it was exactly like that. Just like, yeah, no, oh wow, oh, okay, cool. It's based in epic. Oh, whatever you say, Elon. Okay. Together, these two wonderful Americans will pave the way for my administration to dismantle government bureaucracy, slash excess regulations, cut wasteful expenditures, and restructure federal agencies essential to the Save America movement. This is all Project 2025 shit. We've talked about it extensively. Restructuring federal agencies essential to the Save America movement is perhaps the most alarming thing there, because as you may know, Twitter hasn't done super great since Elon took over. Oh, there we go. According to Fidelity, Elon Musk's X, formerly known as Twitter, is worth around $9.4 billion, which is less than 25% of the $44 billion Musk paid for it in October 2022. This is the person that Trump wants to put in charge of government efficiency. The person who, by the way, if you ever come into physical proximity of somebody who says that Elon fixed the bot problem, nar, honey. Nope. No. It is inarguably worse than ever. This will send shockwaves through the system and anyone involved in government waste, which is a lot of people, stated Mr. Musk. Notably, much like Trump, somebody with, prior to this, literally no experience in any kind of government. Elon has no experience in government. And outside of firing a shit ton of people who were apparently essential to making Twitter a profitable place, apparently essential to making it work correctly on a back end, apparently essential for keeping exploitative materials off of it, all things that have exploded under Musk. But yeah, let's give this guy a job. Why the fuck not? Oh, did he kick Stephen King off Twitter? That's fucking crazy. It will become potentially the Manhattan Project of our time. This has this sentence right here is very funny. This has all of the energy of, do you remember Max Landis? Who remembers Max Landis? It doesn't matter. The only thing you need to remember about Max Landis is that time that he said, if Bright, the Netflix Will Smith film Bright, if Bright does well, it's wild to think this could be my Star Wars. And that is the exact energy this has, and I can almost guarantee the exact energy it's going to have. 4 or 5 years from now when we're looking back at it. Republican politicians have dreamed about the objectives. Just chat, look at that sentence with me. I can't even say it. Republican politicians have dreamed about the objectives of Doge for a very long time. To drive this kind of drastic change, the Department of Government Efficiency will provide advice and guidance from outside of government and will partner with the White House and Office of Management and Budget to drive large-scale structural reform and create an entrepreneurial approach to government never seen before. What that is essentially saying is that it is going to be more privatized than ever. It is outside contractors like Elon Musk. I don't even need to bet money to know that that Elon Musk's companies are going to be directly profiting from this. That probably Trump's companies and its subsidiaries, probably the shit that Vivek is into. What was Vivek's controversy? Stock dump. Yes, that's what it was. It was the fucking biotech short. Oh my god, I completely forgot. Yeah. Oh, are you kidding me right now? Newsweek, thank you. You got me. When nobody else got me, I know Newsweek got me. Not true. Do not rely on Newsweek. They broken clock. Vivek Ramaswamy's artful narrative, meticulously tailored for the GOP primary voter, weaves a tale of principled sacrifice and success. According to his version, he helmed the leadership of Roivant, a multi-billion-dollar American pharmaceutical company he founded and gallantly relinquished his CEO role in 2021 due to his unwavering stance against ESG principles, despite facing opposition from his liberal workforce. While this narrative might seem appealing, it is akin to his endless flip-flops that have plagued his campaign, an elaborate work of fiction that unravels upon a modicum of scrutiny. And you know what? Why wouldn't anybody lie on their fucking resume ever? When look at where it gets you. Straight up, look at where it gets you. Between Trump, Elon, like you get your own fucking department named after a meme for just lying and grifting your way to the top. Who gives a fuck? Nothing's true anymore. Let's start with basics. Ramaswamy has funded... by the way, Vivek is wholesale a grifter. Make no mistake about it. He is actually perfect to be in this with Elon because I'm willing to bet they're going to eat each other alive to try and see who can outgrift who. Funded his campaign through the sale of over $32 million in stock options in February of this year. This could lead one to believe that Roivant, based in Bermuda, is thriving and that Ramaswamy is a great entrepreneur, except the company reported staggering losses of $1.2 billion in its financial report of March 2023. This isn't a one-time slump. In March 2022, when Ramaswamy was still Roivant's chairman and a major shareholder, the company reported an annual loss of $924.1 billion. His defenders argue that Roivant performed better during his tenure as CEO in 2021, but alas, the numbers tell a different story. The reality is that Roivant's finances were abysmal under Ramaswamy's watch. During his tenure in 2019, the company's net operating loss exceeded $530 million. By 2020, the losses had doubled to over $1 billion, accompanied by a 65% decline in revenue. Department of Government Efficiency. Department of Government Efficiency. Let's put these two guys in charge of it, huh? Let's keep reading. Let's go. I look forward to Elon and Vivek making changes to the federal bureaucracy with an eye on efficiency and, at the same time, making life better for all Americans. Bullshit. Importantly, we will drive out the massive waste and fraud. We will... Yeah, Elon and Vivek are going to drive out the waste and fraud. Okay. which exists throughout our annual $6.5 trillion of government spending. They will work together to liberate our economy and make the U.S. government accountable to we the people. Their work will conclude no later than July 4th, 2026. Okay, so let's just say, for the sake of argument, that they create this department and achieve their goals. Do you really think Elon Musk heading a department in the United States government is going to relinquish it in just 2 years? A smaller government with more efficiency and less bureaucracy will be the perfect gift to America on the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. I am confident they will succeed. Bleak. Unbelievably bleak. Like, we already knew through Project 2025, through Trump just being Trump, that he was always going to play these favorites. That he was always going to, especially far more than even the last time, give handouts to the people who were closest to him for his entire campaign, especially when it comes to Vivek and Kristi Noem, who also got appointed a cabinet position. Two people who I specifically singled out as being massive, just doing tricks on it, flopping around, going crazy, Cirque du Soleil on Trump's Jimmy Jams during CPAC. Like when I saw that at CPAC, the only thing I could think for those two specifically, and a couple other people, but them specifically, was, oh, they want to be VP. If not VP, they very funny that Kristi Noem probably thought she could get a VP nom. Like, conservatives are never fucking having a woman VP nom. Are you crazy? Yeah, no. I'm shocked Kid Rock hasn't. I mean, I don't know. There's still more things coming out. Has Kid Rock gotten a nom yet? Has fucking RFK Jr. been nominated yet? All right, here we go. John Ratcliffe. Why are these fucking... All right, let's do Secretary of Defense. Let's go down the list of rogues galleries here. Did they officially say RFK? Because I know it was speculated. Was it official? Fuck, man. Let's go to Pete Hegseth. I'm honored to announce I've nominated Pete Hegseth to serve in the cabinet as my Secretary of Defense. Pete has spent his entire life as a warrior for the troops and for the country. Pete is tough, smart, and a true believer in America first. Not what I want to hear. Our military will be great again, and America will never back down. When has America ever backed down? We are currently funding 2 proxy wars. Pete is a graduate of Princeton University and has a graduate degree from Harvard University. Well, not exactly proxy wars. I take that back. He is an Army combat veteran who did tours in Guantanamo. Can you do a tour in Guantanamo Bay? A tour in Guantanamo Bay. That's like saying you had combat training at a carnival skeet shoot. Like, I don't think that's how it works. Jesus Christ. Now, if you want to know what actually got him in here, Pete has been a host at Fox News for 8 years, where he used that platform to fight for our military and veterans. Pete's recent book, The War on Warriors, spent 9 weeks on New York Times bestsellers list, including 2 weeks at number 1. Pete Hegseth. American television host and author. Jesus Christ. Let's see why the National Review thinks this is a good thing. Oh, no, I'm not joining National Review Plus. Fuck yourself. Short-lived Senate campaign before dropping out. He was CEO of Concerned Veterans for America. Several programs, most notably hosting Fox and Friends Weekend. Fucking of course, dude. Are you kidding me? Fox and Friends? Trump has focused his attention on appointing loyal allies to positions of power within his upcoming administration. In the statement, he praised his career, including his work on Fox, saying he used his platform to fight for military and veterans. So it's basically because he filleted Trump on public television. That's what I'm gleaning from this. Not through any actual fucking like qualifications. Is anybody surprised? Is anybody surprised? I'm not. Brody, thank you for $5. Random side note, I want to apologize to all the minorities in Trump states. I'm in Cali and definitely considered the election fallout in that lens. It's fucking rough. It's fucking rough. Zenothius, thank you for tier 1 for 5 months. Hey, DD, I want to join you. Oh, we already read yours, but yes. Yeah, it's about vibes, not policy. So let's go to Christy Gnome. And actually, I'll be right back. I want to get my headphones. Because I want to... Let's see. I'm trying to remember when Christy Gnome spoke. I think it was on the second day, or the Christy Gnome is the dog killer, right? Yep, she's the. Huh. There we go. Let me see if I can. Corey Mills. God, sorry, I'm scrubbing through. There is so fucking much in this video. Is that her? I believe that's her.
It up and realize that while South Dakota has a very low population density, it has infinitesimally small number of trans athletes. And
all right, let me see if this is around here.
And so they take the wealthiest man in America and bankrupt him.
Well,
the whole process
here's
is
when the
bankrupt.
government
and he's not even in the top 400. They advocate Trump be immune from prosecution. They spread fears that regular Americans are going to be gone.
Yeah, by the way, melted Luke Wilson here. This is all like from my CPAC infiltration video where I traveled to CPAC this last year, and all of this shit is Project 2025 shit. And all of this shit, we should assume that if it's not basically going to come true, then Trump's at least going to try to make it come true, because this is all the stuff that his people were speaking about throughout the year. Brody, which invasion slash genocide do you think Trump is most invested in, Ukraine or Palestine? Probably Ukraine, because Zelensky actually fights back, has the ability to fight back in a consistent way. Oh, thank you very much, Patch of Clover.
On after every member of the Trump administration, which is just ridiculous. Savannah, in particular, seems to be working some kind of early political career. As they all leave, they begin playing a Newsmax segment about Harvard being too dang woke, so you know we're still scaring all the boomers about college kids these days. Next up, we have South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, who refused to mandate masks at the start of the pandemic. She's another lifelong politician who flexes her down-home cred to depict herself as a woman of the people and seems to be desperately seeking a Trump VP nom. Most notably, she worked with a major energy company to create legislation banning protests to build a pipeline. She proposed the Fairness in Women's Sports Act to ban the infinitesimally small number of trans athletes, and she abolished needing a permit to carry firearms in her state. She also spent $70,000 in taxpayer money tricking out the governor's mansion with imported rugs and a hot tub. We get a pump-up reel of Kristi Noem before she takes the stage, and it's pretty clear they're setting Noem up as a new, non-embarrassing Marjorie Taylor Greene type. And it appears to have worked, as she placed at the top of the CPAC straw poll for potential VP nominees. She opens with, "Thank you for being true patriots and loving America," before playing up more of the small-town work ethic BS. In reality, she has a net worth in several millions that has absolutely exploded since taking office and, let's say, diversifying her investments. Most of her campaign donations, despite the down-home aesthetic she pushes, are big money from out-of-state tied to, would you believe it, things like oil and her investments in real estate. Anyway, she wants to tell you, the people, about who's really trying to take away freedoms, who's really tricking the American people.
This election, the choice is clear. There are two kinds of people in this country right now. There are people who love America, and there are those who hate America.
She talks about the people who love America versus those who hate it and are taking away your freedoms. And someone behind me says, "Yeah, that's about it," in response. She's listing out her qualifications here like it's literally a vice president job interview. We get some scattered cheers for no COVID lockdowns. South Dakota's COVID victory has less to do with not mandating masks, as thousands still died from the illness, and more to do with South Dakota ranking 46th in population density, making it one of the least 5 populated states for the land it takes up. She mentions suicide rates, which I thought was weird until I looked it up, and realized that while South Dakota has a very low population density, it has one of the highest rates of suicide in the country. As of 2021, it had the 7th highest suicide rate in the nation. And if you're wondering, yes, most of the other top 10 are well-known red states. Go mental health services. Or don't. Republicans don't really seem to care either way. She uses words like inhumanity to describe Biden's border policy, yet openly talks about volunteering to bring razor wire down to Texas. She says countries are sending mental patients across the border, apparently. I haven't been able to find any source on this at all. I've looked high and low.
We know that China is taking advantage of the situation, that they're funneling military-aged men into our country, and many dangerous criminals and terrorists from other countries who hate us are making their way here too. Some countries are emptying out their prisons and their mental health institutions to send their responsibilities to us to handle.
And then this, unsurprisingly, just turns into another Trump speech, saying Trump is real, he cares about you, he doesn't think he's better than you.
President Trump, he broke politics in 2016. He just did. And I think that's a good thing, because he's real. He's not perfect, none of us are, but he cares about you. And what I love about him the most is that he doesn't think he's better than you.
So if you want to know how and why Kristi Noem got her nomination to the Secretary of the Department of Homeland DHS, it's because she fits right in. It's because she is a grifter for profit. She will say and do anything that continues getting her that big fat paycheck, even acquiescing to Trump, which she was doing all throughout CPAC, all throughout the RNC, all throughout the campaign. Like, just glazing it up like donuts. I'm honestly surprised. Sorry, I popped estrogen. I was just rolling around under my tongue. I'm honestly surprised that Dinesh hasn't been included. Like, I don't... How are you gonna let the glazing goat just go like that? So yeah, Christie has been very strong on border security. Again, you can't help but question the qualifications of somebody when they're being cited as strong on border security when she's a congresswoman from South Dakota. Famously, let me look up no, I just want a basic ass map. Y'all don't need to be doing all that. I just need a basic map. Here we go. Yeah, bravely fighting off those Canadian invaders. They're not even bordered by Canada. Right? It's South Dakota. Not North Dakota, South Dakota. They are locked in between a whole bunch of other American states. Now, that's not the end of Kristi Noem, because what you probably might remember her from earlier this year was the story of her shooting her dog. Her odds declined sharply, being a pick for Trump, following the publication of extracts from her 2024 biography, No Going Back, in which Noem described shooting her 14-month-old dog Cricket after concluding it was untrainable. In addition to the killing of Cricket, Noem has been engaged in a number of other controversies throughout her career, which has seen her banned from the lands of several Native American tribes, accused of fabricating a meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, and criticized after promoting a cosmetic dental surgery in Texas. In one extract, Noem described shooting Cricket, her 14-month-old puppy, after it attacked a family's chickens and later whipped around to bite me. In response, Noem says, "I realized I had to put her down," describing Cricket as untrainable and adding she hated that dog. Noem said she made the decision to kill Cricket due to concerns over her children's safety. Dangerous dog that was killing livestock and attacking people. Dogs killing chickens. Dogs doing what dogs do, especially if they get a taste for blood. You rehome it, you fucking psychopath. Like, the Republicans just spent several months spreading fear and shitty AI memes on Facebook about Trump saving the cats and the dogs. And the first thing Trump does, before even actually getting into office, he picks somebody who is a literal dog killer. Not accidentally. She chose to go and load a gun and shoot a dog. Travelers United said Noam seems to have taken up work as a social media influencer as of 12 March 2024. It accused the governor of advertising a product or service without disclosing she had a financial relationship with that company. Yeah. Great. Maybe she should, you know what? She actually might be perfect. Maybe she can kill the Department of Doge. Who else do we got? John Ratcliffe. Oh, yeah, Mike Huckabee. I am pleased to announce that former Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe will serve as Director of the CIA, from exposing fake Russian collusion to be a Clinton campaign operation to catching the FBI's abuse of civil liberties at the FISA court. John Ratcliffe has always been a warrior for truth and honesty with the American public. When 51 intelligence officials were lying about Hunter Biden's laptop, there was one, John Ratcliffe, telling the truth to the American people. So here we have, once again, somebody who just stroked Trump's ego enough to get in the position he has. Like, that's what we're seeing here in real time. I wouldn't be like, has he fucking said Roger Stone is going to be in there? All right, let's go. Jesus Christ. Could you fucking imagine, like, I know Tucker Carlson isn't going to be there, but, like, do you imagine Tucker Carlson becoming, like, a Senate leader? Former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee would be his pick for U.S. Ambassador to Israel, saying a statement, Mike has been a great public servant, blah, blah, blah. Keep control of the House. Hegseth as Defense Secretary. William McGinley. Oh, Holtzman Vogel. Lawyer. Like, they're not even trying to fucking hide this. They're not trying to hide the blatant nepotism and corruption. Stephen Witkoff, a New York real estate tycoon, his special envoy to the Middle East. Dog. Golfing buddy. Who is Trump golfing buddy Steve Witkoff? Golfing buddies. That's what we're getting here. Witkoff donated more than $2 million to Trump's political action groups, according to a 2021 ProPublica report. The former president called him a friend of mine, my pal, and a special guy during a roundtable event in 2018. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I believe Marco Rubio is Secretary of State, too. Yeah. And RFK Jr. Christ. Oh, God. Xenothius, seriously, what's stopping Biden from declaring Trump a threat to national security? Liberalism. Wanting to maintain the decorum and dignity of the political presidential office. Like, we can't, that would be... Like, taking action against a national threat? That would be unprecedented. Which is something we know Democrats don't do. Democrats do not do unprecedented things. That's Republicans. Molding Mushroom, thank you for subscribing. Island University 7, thank you for following. Have I seen the Nick Fuentes docs? Yeah. Oh, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that a little bit too. Mwah. Do I describe myself as a socialist? No. I do not describe myself as a socialist or a communist. Which is why it's funny when people call me a commie. I'm all out of drink. Anarchist? No. I do not ascribe. I do not ascribe to any of those strictly. Mostly because I think pretty much all of them were made in a world that is vastly different than the one that we have to deal with now. And I don't think there is any way to ever fully align the goals of those systems with what we have to work with. God damn it. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis to decide U.S. Senate replacement if Marco Rubio joins Trump cabinet, which he is. Jesus Christ. Dog, can you not do that, like, right next to my mic? Thank you. Over here. But let's go to RFK Jr.'s plans. Because, like, all right, I also want to get to Department of Education stuff. At an event late last week in Arizona, anti-vaccine activist and Donald Trump transition team member RFK Jr. said he'd fire and replace 600 people from the National Institutes of Health on day one. The NIH is one of public health agencies Kennedy loathes most, and despite still lacking any defined role in the new admin, he's still relishing the opportunity to promise retribution against them. We need to act fast. We want to have those people in place on January 20th so that on the 21st, 600 people are going to walk into offices at NIH and 600 people are going to leave. Long-standing opponent of vaccines has consistently been critical of NIH, the Centers for Disease Control, and other federal agencies that are part of the basic infrastructure of public health. Make America Healthy Again agenda came during an onstage interview at an entrepreneurship event in Scottsdale, which included discussions of Kennedy's workout routine and his relationship with the once and future president. Kicking the special interests and the deep state out of government, calling the NIH an orgy of corruption. As opposed to all of these other people working with Trump. As opposed to all of these people who have just so blatantly been using their positions for more money and more power. No corruption between Vivek fucking Ramaswamy and Elon Musk and Kristi Noem and RFK Jr. None whatsoever. No corruption when Trump is getting his golf buddies, who are real estate tycoons, elected as envoys to the Middle East. That's not corruption. No, that's not a deep state at work. God damn. I never saw anybody who was autistic when I was a kid, Kennedy claimed. Oh, God. NIH won't do those studies because they don't want to know the source or the cure or the treatment of chronic disease. He declared. He also returned to his hobby horse, claiming links between vaccines and a spread in autism. I never saw anybody who was autistic when I was a kid, Kennedy claimed. Never. He added that men his age, Kennedy is 70, don't have full-blown autism, which he defined as wearing helmets and not being toilet trained and head-banging, stimming, toe-walking. That's fucking insane. There is somebody... Not only is somebody who believes vaccines cause autism going to be in charge of health and safety in America, tentatively, under Trump. He doesn't just believe vaccines cause autism. He seems to think autism is an overriding and completely debilitating disability. RFK Jr., you are surrounded by Trump and Elon Musk and Mike Lindell. You're going to say you don't know any autistic people. Not a one. Okay. Andromeda 31. If it's that bad, does that mean I can finally get on disability? Fuck no. Yeah, Elon has said he's autistic. He has come out and said he's autistic. He made a big old deal about it. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Kennedy also used his appearance in Scottsdale to continue fawning over Trump, saying the incoming president has an aura of greatness around him for his role in standing up to what he called the globalist project. This is a man I cannot express enough. RFK Jr. has actually had his brain eaten by worms. He has a part of his brain missing because he ate bad meat and got a brain worm. Got a brain parasite. So now that we've talked about some tentative plans for health and human services, the NIH, the CIA, the Department of Doge. Oh yeah, no. His anti-vax shit. Patrick Clover, thank you for reminding me. His anti-vax shit got 80 plus people killed in Samoa by causing a fucking measles outbreak. Again, I talked about it a little bit a couple days ago, but The reason why COVID as an outbreak was so deadly was partially because of Trump trying to underplay it, partially because of the way that he had already cut funding and safety nets and regulations, regulative bodies. Now, the reason Trump has been cutting regulative bodies in his first term, it was a lot of stuff to do with ecology. It was a lot of stuff that prevented companies from either drilling for oil, fracking, or using land, cutting down forests, endangered like creature zones, like that kind of shit. Cutting all that for more privatization so that rich people could continue making more money. This is going to turbo fuck all of those things. And the idea that you have somebody like RFK Jr. in charge of that, somebody who thinks that vaccines cause autism, which has never been proven, there isn't a shred of credible evidence anywhere, ever. If any scientist, quote unquote scientist, biologist, virologist, whoever says, oh, well, vaccines are proven because of this, that, and the other, look them up. Look up who they are. Look up their vested interest in telling you that. Because much like with COVID and the doctors who came out against COVID, I'm willing to bet they have a financial interest in doing so. I'm willing to bet they'll have a book coming out soon. Or, in the case of people like RFK Jr., get a place in Trump's cabinet or his orbit. So now that we've looked at what they want to do to the rest of society, let's take a quick look at what they want to do to education. Because if there's one thing Trump's election can show us, it's that a stupid population is a Trump voting population. Really? Wall Street Journal? You doing this to me right now? You know what doesn't help? Sorry. Oh, God, Betsy DeVos, get the fuck out of here. You know what doesn't help spreading awareness and news is locking all of these important articles behind paywalls constantly. Like, I understand news, you have to get your ducats. You got to get your money in. I get it. I feel you. But knowledge should be free. Consider, if you are helping to educate the populace on these important issues, more people might be knowledgeable about how they interact with and affect them. It's a deeper, paywalls are a deeper systemic issue, but very annoying. All right, let's do CNN. Yeah, no, real news costs money. Misinformation is free. So true. All right, well, let's watch this really quick.
On the campaign trail this year, the president-elect said he's been dying to do it.
We will ultimately eliminate the Federal Department of Education.
Donald Trump's pledge to abolish the Department of Education, part of his push to wipe out what he's called corruption and waste in Washington.
We will drain the government education swamp and stop the abuse of your taxpayer dollars to indoctrinate America's youth with all sorts of...
Mind you, so much of this has been driven by people like Chaya Raichik and Matt Walsh. People who have not let up, who have specifically targeted individual educators because they happen to be queer, they happen to have colored hair, they happen to make their classroom an inclusive and welcoming space for students who might otherwise feel uncomfortable. That is where all of this really stems from. The idea that they're pushing wokeness in schools
because there are teachers who might let kids experiment with different pronouns, who might use preferred names that their parents won't at home and not report them to the state. Because there are teachers out there who care about the safety and mental health of their students. Because there are teachers out there who sacrifice and give of themselves for students. This is the conservative reaction to kindness. That's all we're seeing here. The conservative reaction to a teacher's natural impulse to try and protect and provide for students is to ostracize and destroy. I feel I need to preface this. Yeah, no, but TD, you don't understand. Kids were using litter boxes. Yep, something that definitely happened, and they definitely had proof of it, and it wasn't just like a rumor of like, oh no, my cousin's kid. Like, anytime somebody still comes into my comments trying to say that shit, it's always like, no, actually, I had a niece whose friends saw the litter box, and it's just that Spaceballs scene of like, I am your uncle's cousin's college roommate 3 times removed. Like it's just like, are you fucking like, come on. So there was cat litter. There were not litter boxes. There were packages of cat litter that were for active shooter situations, because if kids needed to stay in for hours and hours and somebody had to pee, they could do it with the litter. Now, do y'all think, by the way, do y'all think that there's any kind of measures to keep kids safer in schools? Like, we want to disband the Department of Education. We want to make sure that your kids aren't learning about like actual American history or being woke, or that like it's okay for people to have different pronouns or be of different skin colors or a different religion. Like, that stuff we don't want. Do you think Trump is doing literally anything to make sure that your kids do not get shot to death because some fucking dipshit 14-year-old was radicalized into being a Nazi on Elon's Twitter and got it in his head that he needs to protect the white race because of Mr. South African free speech? Do you think anything is being done to prevent that, mitigate that? Nope. Nar. That's a big no, baby girl.
Things that you don't want to have our youth hearing.
Why does Trump want to get rid of the Department of Education? Analysts say part of it is the Republican philosophy of getting the federal government out of education and moving that to the states. But it also involves the culture wars.
Issues involving how sex was taught, about race and ethnicity, about LGBTQ students' rights. And so what we've seen over these last few years is that a lot of adult politics have found their ways into our schools.
What does the Department of Education do? One of its biggest jobs, analysts say, is funding America's students.
The Department of Education exists mostly to send money back to schools for Pell Grants, for student loans, for impoverished elementary and secondary schools, and for special ed.
The department's also tasked with investigating discrimination in schools. What if the department...
So, I hope everybody heard that. If you destroy the Department of Education, what will there be to allocate funding to schools that need it? Schools in impoverished areas, special education programs, Pell Grants for colleges. The conservative, now, Donald Trump has no, again, this is much like trans stuff. He doesn't have an opinion. He is a mirror to reflect the opinions of the people surrounding him who have their own agendas, which, if his orbiters are anything to go by, I'm willing to bet include a lot of people who want to get their little grubby mitts in the privatization of public school, who have an ability to try and make a profit off of this. All right, give me a second. My dog is whining again. What? What do you want? You need food? You need food? Big baby? Well, there you go.
Does that mean I don't have to pay back my loans? Oh no. I think it's oof. We lost our records. Looks like you'll have to start over. Oof. Oh no. Don't worry. Like, you're not going to get loan forgiveness. Because here's the thing. Loans can be sold, but your debt can also be sold to private companies. Which in that case, you will still owe them. You will just have to deal with non-government debt collectors. It won't be the government being nice. It will be people hounding you and harassing you and calling you like regular debt collectors. I wouldn't be surprised if they try and privatize government and student debt collection to make more money.
Was wiped out.
It would be catastrophic for the country because so many students depend on those resources and those protections. And it's students in poverty, it's students with disabilities, it's our whole student loan portfolio.
Politics has often crept into the debate. During the first Trump administration, Education Secretary Betsy DeVos, the first cabinet secretary to survive confirmation thanks only to a vice president's tie-breaking vote, championed conservative causes like charter schools and vouchers. And today, she seemed to back gutting the agency she once led.
So are you saying you don't think disbanding the DOE is the priority?
I do think it's a priority, but some of these more immediate things need to be done first.
When DeVos led the department, Trump tried cutting its budget. In the 1980s, Ronald Reagan tried eliminating the agency. Neither plan worked.
Some Republicans have resisted this and presumably will resist this again, possibly because $14 billion goes to people with disabilities, and even people on the right wing may have children and neighbors with disabilities.
Whoa, that is a serious mustache.
The former Vice President, Mike Pence.
From ABC News. Trump's plan for schools in his second term. Provides programs such as Title I funding for low-achieving or high-poverty K-12 schools in need of support, as well as Pell Grants for undergraduate students in high financial need. He proposed billions in cuts to the Department of Education's budget. He wants states, not the federal government, to have control over schools. This will also increase, in red states, the likelihood of like being forced to read the Bible and shit in schools, like open Christian nationalism. If you don't think that's coming in the next couple of years, that we're not going to start seeing more and more crazy shit, like it is. Buckle up. Trump's campaign has outlined a plan that features prayer in public schools, an expansion of parental rights in education, patriotism as a centerpiece of education, and an emphasis on the American way of life. He has also called for dismantling of diversity initiatives in education and federal funding cuts for schools or programs that feature critical race theory, gender ideology, or other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content. Republican-backed legislation across the country has similarly sought to limit these topics, and efforts have been criticized for being vague and leading to censorship in schools and classrooms on topics concerning race, gender, and politics. That's because, as we've already seen, they're not meant to be specific. They are meant to be vague. They are meant to be wide-ranging and reinterpretable at a moment's notice so that they can be malleable. They can be molded into any issue they want it to apply to. FS Guzman, thank you for tipping $1. Help spread if you can. Help with medical surgery. GoFundMe Guzman's hiatal hernia surgery. That is a link in the chat. Let me see if I can do that. I cannot. If that is in the chat on YouTube or Twitch, feel free to... if mods are there, feel free to clip that. or put that on there. I cannot from this end. Trump has also suggested he would create a new credentialing body to certify teachers who embrace patriotic values and support the American way of life, and reinstate his administration's 1776 commission to align the teaching of history with the values of the founding of the United States, although Agenda 47 does not elaborate further on what such values are or define the criteria for embracing the American way of life. I can tell you, it's revisionist history. It is not talking about slavery. It is not talking about Native American indigenous genocides. It is not talking about labor unions or feminism or how the United States has repeatedly subjugated Southern American countries in the interests of massive capitalism. Like, none of those will be talked about. No. It is going to be revised history. It is going to be America is and always has been a great and amazing and fair place. And if you don't like it, well, you just aren't an apple pie, down home, good country loving American. You just might be one of them dirty reds or a queer. That's what it's gonna be. Oh man, we're so fucking cooked. Jeffrey Ritchie, thank you for super chatting $10. Dee, all of my patients are frightened. I don't have a lot to offer them except that we will resist. Get active in your local government and let your state representatives, know what you actually want to fucking happen. Yeah, crazy how all the keynotes of American history are oppressed people trying to get rights. Wonder why that is when we have leaders like this. Trump's Agenda 47 also anticipates an end to teacher tenure laws. These laws are described by the United Federation of Teachers as state laws that prevent a school district from dismissing a tenured teacher without due process. Most states have tenure laws in place. However, at least 10 states have zero or limited tenure laws, according to the National Education Association. He also said he will adopt a merit pay for teachers. Some studies have shown that merit pay programs improve student outcomes, but critics argue there is not enough evidence and that various factors impact student performance, including funding and resource inequality or inequity. Notably, when you combine merit-based teaching and certifying teachers who embrace patriotic values and support the American way of life, it becomes so clear that they are just going to hire people, and if not hire people, incentivize people, probably massively, who are just on board with their agenda. Trump's agenda for higher education includes creating a new free university called the American Academy and to fund it by taxing, fining, and suing private universities. God. People, nobody fucking looked at this shit. Nobody, like, where was that stupid thing he had? What was the name of his stupid thing? 1776 commission, right? Right, fuck. I forgot about the 1776 commission. Oh my God. God, this was in 2020. This was right before leaving office. How Trump's administration warps the history of racism and slavery. Trump's parting shot at diversity education gets panned by historians as Biden prepares to disband the commission behind the report. Outgoing President fulfilled a promise to issue a report that promotes a patriotic education about race and the birth of the nation. 1776 report released on Martin Luther King Jr. Day followed Trump's September announcement to form a commission to refute teachings on systemic racism, critical race theory, and deeper examinations of how slavery has affected American society. Again, if you want to know what it's all going to be like, look at this shit.
God damn. The crusade against American history is toxic propaganda, ideological poison that, if not removed, will dissolve the civic bonds that tie us together, will destroy our country, he said at the time. He didn't say that. Somebody else wrote that shit. ain't no fucking way. Sorry. No way Trump said that. There was no way his brain in 2020 put together those words in that order. It argues the true founding of America was not in 17... Oh, yeah. It's a clear rebuke of the 1619 Project, a Pulitzer Prize-winning report by the New York Times in 2019. It argues the true founding of America was not in 1776, but in 1619 when the first enslaved people were brought to the shores of the Virginia colonies. The Times report, led by reporter Nicole Hannah-Jones, set off a firestorm among conservatives, especially as many educators embraced its overall message and sought solutions for history lessons that often watered down or ignored parts of American history that grappled directly with oppression and subjugation of people on the basis of race. However, experts note that the new report, published by a group of conservative political operatives and academics, is rife with false assertions intended to distort well-documented accounts about how discrimination was enshrined by the nation's founders and continues to persist in various forms hundreds of years later. Among the many sections called out for whitewashing historical narratives, the 1776 report claims there's no truth to statements that the Founding Fathers were hypocritical for upholding slavery while claiming that all men are created equal, and that it's destructive to our civic unity and social fabric. The report also paints slave-owning leaders such as George Washington and James Madison as pioneers who set the stage for abolition. Man. Oh, weird. That's not being picked up anymore. A year later, as protests grabbed the attention of America and the project gained further interest, Trump issued a ban on diversity training at federal agencies that include lessons about topics such as white privilege, and then established the President's Advisory 1776 Commission. God damn it. It is political conditioning for the entire underclass. That is what we are looking at here. This is, ironically, this is exactly what Dr. King was talking about. When he was talking about the white moderate who agrees with you, but not the method of protest, who thinks that, yeah, there should be equal rights, but maybe let's wait a little bit. Wait your turn. What we are witnessing here is crafting that into a matter of national policy for schools. That idea of morphing history into something where nothing was ever gained through force or violence. That, yes, there were bad things in the past, but they're overblown and they work themselves out. It is not even capitalist, imperialist propaganda to continue creating more and more vacuous, ill-informed workers. That is the end goal of all of this. It is not to educate. It is not to help. It is not to aid at any level, because as we've seen, they want to cut funding for teachers and mandate what they're teaching. They want to cut funding for special needs. They want to cut funding for school lunches. They want to continue to privatize all these things to nickel and dime, regardless of equity across any schools, regardless of the schools, the parents, the kids, anybody's ability to actually pay. They do not want to deliver a good education. They want to deliver a docile workforce that does not understand the machinations working against them. They do not understand the core forces that are shoving them on an assembly line through this education where they're not being educated to a job where they have no hope of ever actually joining that lofty 1%. But the entire time, the things that they'll remember are America is great. The system is working as intended. Everything is good. This is the way things should be. The people who are at the top, they're not there through nepotism. They're not there through lying and grifting, through backrooms deals. People like Donald Trump, Elon Musk, they get there through hard work. That's what I need to do. I just need to continue working hard, and one day I can have that white picket fence American dream. Boy, howdy. That's what they want kids to go through life feeling. This is in service of a grander societal project, because to people like Elon Musk, to people like Donald Trump, they want a plan for your children. It's different than the plan for their own children, because their own children are part of their dynasty. That's their genetic legacy, right? They see them as an extension of themselves. Well, probably not Don Jr. and Eric Trump. I think Trump sees them more like tumors, honestly, to be excised. I really don't think he would miss them if they were not in his life. But certainly in Elon's case, right? They see them as the basis of a kind of a ruling class, really a ruling elite, a royal family, alongside Trump's fucking mandate of heaven that he seems to think he has, or at the very least, if what we just read from RFK Jr. is any indication, he surrounds himself with people who lavish that kind of praise on him. But for the rest of us, that is not the life plan they want us to have. They don't want you getting it in your head that you could ever be anything more than a worker drone. At a deep level. Now, subliminally, they want you to think like, yeah, okay, if I work real hard, I'll be able to get that house, be able to get that car, get that new shiny watch. But it is in service of an endless churn of consumerism. You are meant to continue focusing on the consumption as your primary act of living. Not expression, not caring about others, not civic responsibility. But to continue grinding for the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. Do you think it's any wonder that Trump has surrounded himself with products, that he continues to sell products, that he puts his name on so many products? Do you think it's any wonder that Elon Musk does the exact same thing? Daddy Emeritus, thank you for $1. The reason why they hate teachers is because teachers teach diversity and coexistence. Conservatives hate that, and they want to get rid of public education so they can keep the population ignorant and easy to control and divide. Exactly. What? Are you meowing at me? Oh, God. You should repeat that. Trump draft executive order would create board to purge generals. The Trump transition team is considering a draft executive order that establishes a warrior board of retired military personnel with the power to review 3- and 4-star officers, recommend removal of any deemed unfit for leadership. Now, before I even read ahead, if you're wondering, let's look at what we've looked at so far with Trump's cabinet picks, who he thinks are fit. They don't have a whole lot in common as far as
actually good track records. What they have in common is a history of filleting Trump publicly, of presenting him as the great hope of America, of playing to him and his base, often at their own cost. And that, to him, is enough to qualify them. So when you're looking at generals and military personnel, what do you think the qualifications are going to be? Do you think it's going to be actually qualified personnel? Or do you think it's going to be more people who placate Trump, and anybody who doesn't step in line will be removed? This is what everybody has been talking about for months with Project 2025. None of this should be surprising or new information. I covered it during CPAC. I covered it before CPAC. I covered it after CPAC. Dozens of other channels, dozens of news outlets have covered it. The liberals did not do a good job of presenting it, but they did present it along Kamala's campaign trail. Do you think Trump will push for gun control if it starts to benefit him? I think in certain areas. Certainly. Create a chilling effect on top military officers given the president-elect's past vow to fire woke generals, referring to officers seen as promoting diversity in the ranks at the expense of military readiness, something that, mind you, does not happen. The draft order says it aims to establish a review that focuses on leadership, capability, strategic readiness, and commitment to military excellence. The draft doesn't specify what officers need to do or present to show if they meet those standards. The draft order originated with one of several outside policy groups collaborating with the transition team and is one of numerous executive orders under review by Trump's team, a transition official said. Now, a couple things there. The draft doesn't specify what officers need to do or present to show they meet those standards. We know. We already know what they need to do or present. Loyalty, fealty, willing to kneel and kiss the ring. The draft order originated with one of several outside policy groups. Now, they don't specify which policy group, but if I had to bet money, I would say, dollars to donuts, probably somebody involved in Project 2025. Because there were dozens and dozens and dozens of different policy groups and conservative billionaire-backed think tanks backing measures just like this. Yeah, stacking your military full of yes men doesn't work out history-wise. Since when does Trump give a fuck about history? Oh, God. The establishment of the board would be in line with Trump's calls for purging what he views as failed generals, including those involved in the chaotic 2021 withdrawal from Afghanistan, according to people familiar with the policy discussions. Trump has said he would ask all generals involved in the withdrawal to resign by noon on Inauguration Day. One feared potential target of Trump's threatened purge would be Air Force General C.Q. Brown Jr., the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. According to two defense officials, during the 2020 George Floyd protests, Brown spoke about the impact that movement had on him, what it was like to rise through the military ranks as a black fighter pilot. But yeah, Trump, oh no, he loves veterans. He loves our veterans. He loves our service members. The executive order, which has been reviewed by the president-elect's transition team, may be presented to Trump when he takes office, and its implementation depends on whether he chooses to sign it in its current form. According to a person familiar with its drafting, he will. The draft executive order cites as precedent for the move General George C. Marshall's creation of a plucking board in 1940 led by retired general officers to review the files of senior serving military officials and remove from line promotion any officer for reasons deemed good and sufficient. The goal of Marshall's board was to make room to promote promising junior officers. So in the middle of World War II, that's what we're going back to. Precedent. Yeah, No shit. Some former military officials believe the incoming Trump admin is looking to politicize the military. Do they start wearing MAGA hats in formation to signal who's where? Asked one former senior Pentagon official. The potential for this to go wrong is infinite. This goes back to, again, when I was at CPAC, listening to Trump speak. He told a story about going to visit a platoon of Marines or Army, I don't remember which was, where they were like, oh, we're not supposed to wear MAGA hats, but we put them on anyway. And he's telling the story on stage to raucous applause as he tells a story of the military already acquiescing to him. And he loves it like a kid on Christmas. U.S. troops take an oath of office to the Constitution and vow not to follow any legal order, and Congress must approve the promotion of general officers. But establishing a board separate from the current process, which uses serving officers, could undermine the idea that generals refrain from sharing their political views within the Pentagon. Could also potentially prompt officers not to speak out against orders they believe are illegal, says Eric Carpenter, professor of military law at Florida International University College of Law. This looks like an administration getting ready to purge anyone who will not be a yes man, says Carpenter, a former Army lawyer. If you are looking to fire officers who might say no because of their law or ethics, you've set up a system with completely arbitrary standards so you can fire anyone you want. Again, this is not new. This should not be a revelation. This should not be a mystery to anybody. This is exactly what people have been saying for months now would happen. This is exactly what people have voted for. When people were calling Trump a wannabe dictator, this is what they meant. It is not a mystery that he has spent the last several years praising people like Putin and Kim Jong-un. He sees them as very strong men. He idealizes the kind of power and coercion and control they have, especially over their military. Because he loves his generals. And now those chickens are coming home to roost. And I think so much of the American population has been ignorant to what that could mean about an effect on the populace. What happens when at a federal level a protest breaks out and any general will unquestioningly follow Trump's orders? I am going to feed my cat because she won't stop meowing really quick. Oh, boy. How are we all feeling? Ready to go to Mexico? Well, I wouldn't quite go there yet, because you got people coming into Trump who want to basically declare war in Mexico. Oh man. fucking rough, y'all. I do want to show off something very fascinating. What was... So recently, and I want to show this off for people who might not know it, or people especially in my state who are interested for no particular reason in getting a firearm, which I have always advocated for firearm safety. I have always advocated for responsible gun ownership, especially in trying times like this. However, in Washington, a couple years ago, Initiative 1639 was passed, and it was met with heavy resistance from the gun lobby. Now, 1639 did a lot of things. It raised the minimum age to 21 for semi-automatic rifles, allowed background checks, or mandated background checks and a 10-day waiting period. Let's go to see if Wikipedia has us. Defining the term semi-automatic rifle to include all semi-automatic rifles, raised the age from 18 to 21, blah, blah, blah. Expanded background checks to include medical records requiring a waiver of HIPAA rights. Now, the initiative was also supported by State Attorney General Bob Ferguson, who had previously proposed a statewide ban on semi-automatic rifles in response to the 2016 Mukilteo shooting. The NRA and other groups opposed the measure, raising approximately $600,000 to campaign against it. Questions about whether the form of the petition submission by initiative backers complied with state law resulted in the measure being temporarily blocked from the ballot by order of the Thurston County Superior Court, though a subsequent ruling by the Washington State Supreme Court quashed the lower court injunction. Now, that 600,000 is very interesting because the where this goes, I think, speaks to a lot of how a lot of oversight is needed still in government, because even measures like this, 1639, which are meant to create a safer environment, create standards for training around firearms. I'm going to show you what the safety training program actually is. Okay, we're going to go through it together really quick. Because on a technical level, this is enough to say that you have been trained in firearm safety enough that you can then go through the process to get a background check, wait 10 days, and have a firearm legally owned. This is, by the way, conservatives outraged about this. Well, we'll see why in a sec. But I want you to know that you can complete this, and I'm going to go through it really quick, and then we'll go back through it. But I'm going to go through it. This is the entire training course. I want you to, don't blink because you'll miss it. Oh, it's getting started. Come on now. I don't know why it's loading so long. Now, you may notice I'm not really reading anything on here. I'm not really absorbing any information. And you might think, well, Jordan, for a safety training course, you might be thinking if you've worked in food service, if you've driven, for something as dangerous as a firearm, surely there is some kind of additional testing involved. No, it is just these slides that you can skip right through. With such helpful hints as treat all firearms as if they are loaded, trust but verify, please don't be an Alec Baldwin. That's the words on this website. This isn't, by the way, in Washington State, this is an entirely legal way to be qualified for a firearm. Yep, skip on through this. Like, all you have to do is technically, here are great ones. So again, they legally have to go through. You know what? I'm going to go back because it's not going through as much as I want. Is this dog shit website takes forever to load, apparently. Like, it's not even going forward. It going back to takes forever to load. Oh no, this website's dog shit. Like, I mean, look, like, this is everything. Oh, wait until we get to the end, because there are some choice, primo memes. Here's a great one. So I'm going to go click on this guy's YouTube channel, because this was the first thing that I looked into when I looked into this entire training program. Not this guy himself. He's a boring boomer, fucking no web designers. Dale Wilson, I read that in the, not read that, but like I saw that in the like Megamind meme, no bitches meme, but just no web designers. With such great videos as Anchor Babies Away, SCOTUS Can Fix Illegal Immigration. What was another one? There was one he did sucking off Elon. Great win. Musk outstarts Philly judge 11 days ago. So while it's mostly purports to be Second Amendment stuff, this is just a regular old conservative channel that, mind you, this free, one of the only free gun safety courses in Washington pushes people towards. Oh, shit, I forgot. God damn it. I wanted to go back and show something off. In his stupid little video, again, if you forgot where this is coming from, God, this fucking thing takes so long to load. If you forgot where this is coming from, the opening video.
It's time for one of my favorite activities here at the Four Boxes Diner, in addition to drinking coffee, of course.
Cringe.
Busting anti-gun myths. Now, I want to tackle today one of the most persistent myths out there. I'm talking about the argument by the anti-gunners that the Second Amendment does not protect an individual right to keep and bear arms.
All right.
Now, I devote
whatever. It won't let me pause it. I'm just going to skip through it.
video
But if you look
to what
through
the
at the
Second
bottom,
Amendment actually says and how to understand
it's a
it
fucking
in historical
nightmare.
context. But in the comments to that video, right, some people were saying, hey, Mark, as a constitutional scholar, don't you know how to read? After all, the first part of the Second Amendment talks about a quote-unquote well-regulated militia. So how can the founders actually have been talking about individual rights in the context of the Second Amendment, given that?
Oh my God,
clause?
fucking
Well,
load, you
so
dog shit video. God damn. The thing I wanted to point out here before we got tortured to death with this fucking Sega CD video is that it's the opening segment is literally labeled leftist arguments. Why is this in a gun safety class? Lady DeFage, because while it is technically meeting the very bare minimum legal requirements of gun safety class, this is basically just an outlet to push people further into far-right propaganda about guns, as we're going to see, especially towards the end when they have to talk about suicide. Again, legally mandated in gun safety courses. But then they try and twist it a little bit. We'll see at the end. Firearm safety. So their video about firearm safety is their education. They took it from the Glock YouTube channel. That is the education on firearm safety. That is the legal requirement, technically fulfilling that you can be certified. By the way, again, no testing on this whatsoever. You can just skip through all of these. Would you like to learn gun safety with Eddie the Eagle and the Wing Team from the NRA?
Yes!
What the fuck is
Eagle
that?
has landed.
Attaboy, Eddie. Way to put all those eggs in one basket.
Hey, Wing Team, let's play ball. Howie, come play.
Tell me, Eddie, how do you play? Will my meat get in the way? The ball is orange, what is that? Will I need a glove, helmet, or bat?
You ask a lot of questions.
What?
Only way to learn.
So, will you play?
Okay, we.
Great, you're a part of my Wing Team. How about you, Maya?
My wing team is so fun. Well, you know safety is rule numero uno.
I'm gonna be real with y'all. When I said I skipped through this course, it means I did not watch the videos. I just skipped through it to get my certification to see if they would let me do it. So I didn't watch this video before. This is fucking wild, dude. I'm sorry. Leftists are the ones pushing indoctrination on kids? The progressive liberal left? How is this related to gun safety? Oh, we're getting there. Wanker Tanker, thank you for super chatting $5. Loaded a disarming history of the Second Amendment by Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz. Militia was about killing natives to steal land and also slave patrols. Yeah, that's where America's policing started.
No, I'll play ball with mis amigos, but I'm pretty good, so watch your egos. I'm in.
Super. One more, and we can play 2-on-2. What do you say, Gary?
Oh, I'm sorry, this is 10 fucking minutes long. Oh my God.
On it.
Oh, good point.
A gun.
I don't think we need to see much more than that. Honestly, I feel like that's where you cut it. A gun. Oh. God damn. Anyway, that's the educational video they have for the legally mandated training course. And here are, again, technically they have to lay out legal things so you can technically say that you are technically aware of it. I love, by the way, this lady that they have in like vaguely 1950, like, first off, I don't get, not all battle rifles are black. Huh? Here we go. So they have to give education on suicide because of gun violence in America. And here's what they say first, what they're legally obligated to say, and I want you to compare and contrast that to what they say later. Suicide is an unfortunate and completely avoidable human condition. People have no limits on the creative approaches used over the millennia to commit suicide. In Washington, 70% of all firearms deaths are by suicide, not criminal violence or negligence. The U.S. has a similar suicide rate to other industrialized nations. The firearm is just the tool chosen more often than the USA. Firearms will be lethal when used for this purpose. However, firearms do not cause suicide any more than medications, poisons, ropes, or gravity. It's merely the tool employed. But here's the thing. It's a lot fucking harder to fail suicide with a gun. You can have your stomach pumped if you use pills. You can fail at nearly any other kind of attempt. You can survive a car crash. Kind of fucking hard to survive a gun. Suicide rates among blah, blah, blah. So this entire thing, because they have to say suicide prevention, but they filter it through the lens that, well, it's not guns' faults that people use guns to murder themselves, and 78%, of firearm deaths in Washington are by suicide. That's not preventable, is essentially what they're saying here. They say it's avoidable, but then go on to say that, like, oh, well, it's actually very similar to other industrialized nations. So what they're saying is that people are going to kill themselves no matter what, which there is a truth to. But guns make it a whole lot easier. A whole lot easier. Common sense would indicate that you can take numerous measures to prevent suicide by securing access to firearms, knives, drugs, or alcohol. Most importantly, get involved, speak up, and take action. Jesus Christ. Helpful. This doesn't show where the fucking United States actually is. Oh, there it is. So you mean it's risen over time? Here we go. More dog shit. Like the graphic design is my passion stuff is awful. More, again, technically legal training. We have deadly force. Deadly force is authorized if you have a legitimate fear of serious injury or death. That said, you will be faced with an investigation, possible prosecution, wrongful, blah, blah, blah. Deadly force is not something to be taken lightly. You're also responsible for every round discharged, so while you may stop an active threat, if a round causes injury or damage elsewhere, it's on you. You know, technically after this, everybody in chat, all 600 of you, are Washington State gun owner certified. Here's a fun one. 80% of firearm deaths occur from gang and drug activity. FBI statistics. Don't provide a link to that. Just say FBI statistics. Also, I believe you're citing nationally, not in Washington, so a little bit different. That tidbit just resolved 80% of gun violence. Don't engage in the illicit drug trades or participate in gang activity. That was easy. You have to take responsibility for your own safety or you may become a victim of criminal activity. It would be helpful if local prosecutors, our state legislature, and administrations would punish violent criminals rather than enabling their anti-societal behaviors with lax laws, no jail time, reduced sentencing, and early releases. So shit that just like doesn't happen, especially for violent offenders. Wild. Here is my personal favorite. This is the mwah. The Second Amendment is under nonstop. This is where it goes from like being vaguely educational to outright right-wing propaganda. Even though they try to hide it, but they really can't. The Second Amendment is under nonstop assault from the anti-gun forces inside and outside Washington state. They are well-funded, well-organized. They effectively move the goalposts, use propaganda, spin, and utilize a compliant media to promote their emotional plea for gun control. Their argument for gun control is rarely based in fact, but primarily an emotional plea. Their emotional stories are heartbreaking, and we do not wish that pain and suffering upon anyone, yet we do not want to suffer the same heartbreak because we are unprepared to be our own first responder. One of the primary forces behind the initiative that this training is acquiescing had a son who was shot and 3 of his friends killed in a school shooting. How would another kid having a gun have helped that situation? It wouldn't. There was nobody there to be a first responder, you fucking moron. There was a kid who obtained a gun and used it to kill other kids. Which is the reason why we need more laws that force gun safes, that keep registration on gun owners. Because if you have a weapon that can be used to cause mass death, you need to be more fucking responsible with it. And which is exactly what they're arguing against here. They're saying that, oh, it's just an emotional plea. Don't pay attention to it. Even the smallest gain by the anti-gun crowd is the reason for them to celebrate that victory. It's big business for some, a divisive platform for politicians. And make no mistake, there are huge sums of money involved on all sides. That's a great thing to bring up. Because like we talked about at the beginning, the NRA raised $600,000 to fight for this. Now, you may ask, let me go see if I can find the... Alliance for Gun Responsibility, that's the one. The Alliance for Gun Responsibility, let me see, about. This is one of the primary factors, one of the primary forces pushing through that initiative. A coalition of national and local partners working to prevent gun violence. 990s. They are a political action committee, victory fund. So this is what they think is big money compared to the NRA. Vote against anti-gun candidates. This is why Washington has moved so far left on firearms issues. See, they slip. They let the masks slip just a little bit too much. A little bit too much. Firearms owners and businesses are being marginalized in the mainstream media, made to feel like second-class citizens because you wish to own and use firearms. School systems, PTAs, mass media, Hollywood, political parties, celebrities, and anti-gun groups all vilify firearm use. Hollywood vilifies firearm use? Have you seen an action movie in the last 20 years? Hollywood vilifies firearm use. Like, they're literally trying to make it sound like you're a minority, like you were being discriminated against as a second-class citizen with this sub-2008 dog shit fucking MySpace level meme. Look at this. Look what, like, that fedora is a JPEG. They're not sending their best, y'all. This one's actually very funny. Talking with anti-gun citizens. This is like, we're getting into the peak of their propaganda, and it's very funny that they chose a picture where the gun is literally being pointed at the viewer. First, you must be educated about firearm laws and uses. Most anti-gun people are totally unfamiliar with the process to purchase, possess, or use firearms. They get their information from a biased media who's gleefully uninformed. Yeah, the media is the one that are uninformed here. Don't guess if you don't know the facts, or you're falling into the same intellectually dishonest mind trap as the anti-gunner you're talking to. Educate yourself about the criminal use of firearms and be able to provide good examples of criminal gun use rates in big cities. With what they're saying here, again, not so subtly, be able to provide good examples of criminal use rates in big cities with high unemployment, serious drug and gang problems. Don't let suicide, 78% of firearm deaths in Washington, be included in gun violence statistics. So don't let gun deaths be included in gun death statistics, is what they're saying. But also, high unemployment, serious drug and gang problems. I wonder what group they're thinking of when they say that. I wonder like not like us responsible, like we're not like those people. Like we're responsible gun owners, not like, you know, it's like we're responsible, but like we have not low unemployment and drugs and gangs. We're not a bunch of you know. I wish they would just be fucking more honest about what they actually mean. Justice Department Bureau of Prisons survey of inmates showed that 98% of inmates obtained their firearms illegally. Shocking. Are those the only people who shoot people? If a kid goes and takes his dad's assault rifle and shoots up a school, he didn't legally procure that firearm. There's not a legal process there. That doesn't make it okay. If his dad followed the legal process, because there's not actual safety in how the firearm is being stored. I'll be right back. Give me 1 second. All right. Yeah, no, exactly. King Kerplunk. No, we can see and totally ignore the real statistic of 75% firearm deaths because those are suicide and they don't count. They absolutely do count. Jesus Christ. What they were just talking about big money groups funding the anti-gun movement. Second Amendment Foundation, based in Washington, has over 50 lawsuits pending at any given time. They fight nationally, but are leading the challenges. They have numerous other actions against the state of Washington and dozens upon dozens more nationwide. Washington Civil Rights Association founders GoFundMe has raised nearly $180,000 to fight I-1639 since 2018. And now we are working to challenge additional laws in court, increase awareness in public forums, and resist the gun control legislative efforts here in Washington. Incredible. Fundraising money. Now, this is the end of the training program. Do you feel safer now? Oh, I feel so much safer. So then you just need to fill this out. Here we go. We spend our own funds to provide you this free service because we believe no citizen should have to pay for a class to exercise an inalienable, constitutionally protected right. These permit-to-purchase laws are failing in federal courts. No, it says falling in federal courts. I think they mean to say failing. Failing in federal courts, and we welcome the day this class is rendered obsolete by the U.S. Supreme Court. The deprivation of rights under the color of law. Here's a parting factoid from the Supreme Court decision in Shuttlesworth versus Birmingham. No state shall convert a liberty into a privilege, license it, and attach a fee to it. So that's not what's happening here. They just want people to actually be trained, was the goal with the initiative. And because conservative gunmongers cannot handle the idea of actually having responsible gun ownership, this basically subverts any intent, any actual qualifications for gun safety. Now, legally, I have completed this. I can enter my info up here. I can get my certificate and say, I will have one firearm, please. Now, you might ask, have I retained any of this information? I have, but for the sake of argument, have I retained any of this information by just skipping through this? No. Am I a safer gun owner because they wanted to subvert laws meant for actual responsible gun ownership? No. At that point, it is then contingent upon me as the owner to look into actual gun safety. But how many people are going to do that? When you have so many people like this trying to eliminate those guardrails, basically trying to just give every man, woman, and child a firearm right out of high school. My Mulatto super chat $2 has just been revoked. Yeah, Kobold, you'd think they'd be more proud to provide good education, not like the minimum requirements. Well, that's what they want to do. They want the minimum, the bare fucking minimum possible. They don't want the actual requirements to be met. They don't really care. This is meant, again, not to actually educate. You all saw. I went start to finish. There was no quiz. There was not even an attempt to have you retain the information that you're being given. The information was pulled from a variety of already right-wing sources. Sources that were all but guaranteed to either lead you further down an ideological agenda or reinforce one that was already there. They want no restriction. Yeah, Mud Sonata. They want no restriction. It is deeply annoying to be an actual advocate for gun safety, to actually believe in firearm ownership and safety of firearm ownership, and to have the main forces behind people going and researching gun safety and being qualified to carry firearms be just fuck-ass cheese dicks like this. If you want to know why we have so many people at protests and rallies that just brandish their firearms out in the open, it's because of this dumb bullshit. Like these are the kind of people who would say, what's his fuck was a hero. Yeah, no, I had to go through so much more to serve alcohol. Yeah, alcohol training is far more intensive legally than firearm training. The training for knowing when you've overserved someone, recognizing when somebody's been overserved, denying service, how to navigate the complexities of being a bartender is far more intensive than getting certified to own a firearm. And granted, all of this, I need to preface all of this by saying that you still have to go through a 10-day waiting period. You do still have to go through a background check. But you bet your ass, if they could get rid of those, if they could cheapen or make those easier, they would be doing that too. All this is to say that if you live in Washington, if you are looking into gun ownership, please look into actual responsible gun ownership. And please be aware of the political arguments that the people around gun safety and gun training will want to push you towards. Not everybody. Thankfully, and I think this last election, there are going to be a lot more leftists and a lot more people in the progressive spaces who are taking up responsible gun ownership, who are representing themselves as responsible gun owners, something I have long since advocated for. I would love to live in a country with no guns, but we don't live in that country. We live in a country where the day after Donald Trump got elected, millions of people were threatened to be raped and tortured. The day after Trump got elected, I had multiple people on Twitter tell me I was going to be killed and put in a camp. That's the physical reality of the world we live in. And I wish it wasn't that way. Just like I wish people didn't need to own guns to protect themselves. But we do live in that world. King Cyrus the Great, thank you for $5. DOD pick is going to fail hard because no one is fucking with U.S. empire management. Pete is about to be corrected real quick. When are car companies going to start protesting driver's license? Angry Goose, there's a lot of people. Yeah, when you get into like militia movement type shit, there's a lot of people. Sovcits, sovereign citizens. Yeah. I just saw that guy posting Warhammer you retweeted. That was very funny. I thought that was very funny. Yeah, no. Lynxfire, Australian RSA training is flawed. People don't follow it, but holy fuck, this is horrible. Yeah, like, I think... One of the gold standards for gun control laws is Japan. Japan is famously incredibly strict. Not saying you can't own guns, but you need to have a valid reason. And the way that they are reinforced, you have the freedom to have a gun. You have the ability to have a firearm. But you need to be 20 years old, pass a written test, pass a shooting test with a minimum accuracy of 95%. You must undergo a background check, mental health evaluation, and drug checks. The gun must be kept in a locked space when not in use. They must provide the police with details of where their gun and ammunition are stored. The police will inspect the gun once a year. Gun licenses must be renewed every 3 years. Prospective gun owners must take an official safety course that covers maintenance, inspection, loading, and unloading, and shooting. Background checks. The police will investigate the applicant's background and relatives to ensure they are crime-free. Membership in certain political or activist groups may disqualify an applicant. The custom tariffs law prohibits the import of firearms, ammunition, and parts. It is illegal to fire a gun in public places such as streets, parks, trains, and stores. For hunting, sport, or industrial purposes. Now, granted, in America, that would have to be amended, obviously, to include things like property defense. Especially, and not even against people, but property defense if you live in a more rural area and you have to shoot. Like, I had family that shot coyotes and shit who were, would prey on livestock and that kind of shit. Sometimes you got to do it. Dustin the Damned, hey there. Sometimes you got to do it to them, but could be lying to you. I don't believe it is. Japan's strict gun control laws are unfair and oppressive. Hunters and target shooters may possess shotguns. Well, that's a different thing. Inventory to make sure there are no shells or pellets unaccounted for. Prospective gun owner must take an official safety course and pass a test that covers maintenance and inspection of gun, methods of loading and unloading, shooting for various positions, and target practice for stationary and moving objects. The license is valid for 3 years. Nelson JD, it's still relatively... All right, 2023. Had firearms licenses that enabled him to possess 4 guns, including a rifle and a shotgun. No reports of the suspect having a mental illness. God damn. Imagine Japan. Shootings have hovered between 10 to 50 cases annually in the past decade or so, most of which have been linked to organized crime groups. According to World Population Review, Japan has seen 0.08 gun deaths per 100,000 people so far in 2023. In contrast, the United States, where mass shootings have also made headlines recently, the number of deaths stood at 10.89. Age 20 or above, written test, conduct shooting practice, 60,000 yen. Police must inspect the firearm once a year. So yeah, I believe that all of that stuff is still relatively current. No, we need actual responsible gun ownership in America, and it's not okay. This oh no, trust me type bullshit is not okay. And it's measures and training programs like this that make it not okay. Because there are going to be people who go through these things and are technically, legally now qualified, certified, who don't have any history of crime in their background, but who still have mental illness. And in America, we're just going to be stuck in this spiral, wondering, why do people keep snapping and killing others when we're cutting funding for mental illness, when we're cutting funding for education, when we're cutting funding for healthcare, and putting more money into measures to make sure people have guns? Damn, y'all. It has been a night, huh? How are we all feeling, chat? Sad and scared? Damn. Feeling invigorated. There we go, Patrick Clover. That's what I like to fucking see. Feeling invigorated. I want to spread the message. I want to empower the working class. Hell yeah. Mud Sonata. I'm starting to think this Trump guy's a real jerk. Yeah, Dustin the Damned. I'm pro-gun and pro-gun control. Same. Brody, thank you for $5. Are you sure the gun battle isn't over? Gun buybacks don't even work here. I'm for guns being a thing of the past, but I don't know. No, I think the gun battle in America is so deeply ingrained into our conscience as a something that can't, it's an inalienable right. It can't be shifted or changed at all. Everybody needs to have a absolutely, oh shit, did Nick Fuentes get his house burned down? dog. What? I don't... yeah, I think it's just a meme, unfortunately. I saw that thing. I meant to look into it. I saw that thing on Twitter too. But yeah, anyway. I need to get going. My dog is still whining at me. So I'm going to go. Let's see. Who should we raid tonight? Who is streaming? Let's go do... yeah, let's go do actual Jake. Go say hi to Jake. And I hope all y'all have a wonderful rest of your night. Check out, I'm going to be probably making a couple stream highlights off of this. And yeah, keep an eye out for some new videos hitting the channel in the next couple days. I have about 3 I'm working on. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your night.